Hello, everyone. I'm Linda Nickell, and welcome to the Happiness Hour. Every week, photographers meet here to connect, inspire, and create. The schedule for the rest of the year can be found on my website at lindanickell.com. If you see something that piques your interest, consider joining us live. Every week, my guests share their photography tips and insight into their creative journeys and the stories behind some of their favorite photographs. Tonight's guest is Carol Whitney. Carol is a Texas-based personal branding and headshot photographer, but macro photography fuels her passion. In tonight's presentation, Magic in the Mundane, Carol will guide you through her step-by-step process for capturing the exquisite beauty of water droplets. You'll learn how to observe and capture these intricate moments, transforming ordinary scenes into extraordinary photographs that reveal the hidden wonders all around us. You can connect with Carol through her website at 50clicksphoto.com. And if you're on Instagram, you can find her at 50clicksphoto. That's 50 with an underscore clicks underscore photo. And I'll link those in the show notes below. With that, welcome to the Happiness Hour, Carol.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for saying yes. Not that I gave you much choice, but I like it. It's kind of a joke. It's not really. I kind of like it when people don't put up a fight. It just makes it easier, and we can just move on to the next thing. And I get a topic from them, and the next thing you know, I'm asking for a description and a title, and here you are, several months later. But thank you for saying yes. I
Yes, thank you.
All right. I glossed over your bio.
You made me sound really fancy. I
You are fancy.
was
You
like,
are
no. I
fancy.
was
But is
like,
there
who is
something
this she's talking about?
yeah, is there something you want to add? Like, I don't know. Do you have any secrets you want to, confide in all of us so I can stick a
Oh,
pin
I've
to?
got a ton of secrets that I'm about to tell you in this thing. So, I don't think I can tell. I'll give spoilers if I say it right now.
Okay. All right, with that, let's go ahead and let you get started then.
Well, thank you for that great introduction. Like she said, I'm Carol, and I'm super excited to be presenting to you guys tonight on macro photography. Um, I live in the Austin, or like a little bit north of Austin, and I do headshots and small business branding by day, but macro water droplet photography is my favorite. I wish I could have a job that I wish that could be my job. But I'm here tonight to tell you or to show you that you don't have to be a professional photographer in order to create beautiful photography. So my goal tonight is to empower you guys with tips and tricks on how to do everything. So you're not going to need any fancy gear or not a lot of fancy gear. And you don't even actually need fancy locations for your stuff. Like for instance, this photo was taken on my desk with a plant in the as the backdrop. So you don't have to have fancy stuff. So, okay. Are you ready?
We are
So
ready.
I is there just really quick, hold on. How do I move the people?
The
Is
people.
there
Okay.
to make it oh never mind. It went away. Okay. So I have always loved textures and colors and shapes and contrast, and like it brings me so much joy. And back in 2020, I was desperate to find some kind of joy or some kind of magic in the mundane. And so I started finding it on my walks, on my daily walks. I was starting to notice these beautiful droplets on grass and on purple heart and on dandelions. And because I'm a portrait photographer, all I had were portrait lenses wouldn't get me close enough to the water droplets. So I just started taking stuff with my cell phone. And quickly And so I've started to take stuff with my cell phone, and quickly I outgrew that. And I wanted to take my macro photography to the next level. So I bought a macro lens. There we go. So buying that macro lens honestly changed everything. Um, it was a very steep learning curve for me because the settings that I used in portrait photography was so different than in macro. So I would try and fail and try and fail. And then finally, I figured out how to get the water droplets in focus and create pretty pictures. So that is what I'm going to share with you tonight. So let me tell you, um, the gear, my bare minimum gear that I use is a Canon R6. My lens is a 100 millimeter 2.8 macro lens. And then I have a Raynox adapter. I don't know, can you guys see that? It's just like a little magnifying glass that clips on the end of my lens. So it makes it even more macro. And then I have a spray bottle with plain water. And you can use just any water bottle that you can get from like the grocery store or from Walgreens. But I prefer the one, this is from Sally Beauty Supply, because the mist is finer than a normal spray bottle. And like sometimes you need like really tiny water droplets. And that creates that. My optional list right here, it may look like I'm asking you to commit a crime, but I promise you I'm not. So the aluminum foil and the knife, it's just like a butter knife. I don't know if you guys can see that. And then I put the foil on top of it and I use it as a reflector. And so like when I'm like laying on the ground or if I'm like have a potted plant and I need to add a little bit of extra light, I'll just like put the knife in the dirt and then I can shape the foil to create a reflection on the water droplet. Um, I use a plastic drop cloth if I'm laying on the ground and it's dewy because I don't want to get wet and I don't want my stuff to get wet. The needle and the syringe is like normally I spray all of my stuff down, like all of the plants down to create the water droplets. But sometimes I want to strategically place water droplets. And so a needle and a syringe will do that. The light, these are, let's see, these lights, I can give you the link if you want. But these lights do normal light. You can change the color temperature of them. But my favorite part about it is they're magnetic on the end. And so when I'm shooting, sometimes I'll shoot on a cookie sheet and then I'll like magnetize these to the cookie sheet. And so they won't move. So it's like a hands-free light, which is helpful. But overall, you have to have time and patience. Especially if this is the first time that you're doing it, it can be nerve-wracking because the focal plane is so tiny. So having the patience and giving yourself grace to make mistakes over, because it'll happen over and over, and then all of a sudden I'll click. So just having that is so necessary. And then curiosity. I don't use a tripod. I did have that in the optional. I don't use a tripod because for me, I'm not able to be curious and move around my subjects. And so not to say you can't be curious with tripod, but Um, and then lastly, I feel like having a working knowledge of camera settings and understanding like shutter speed, ISO, and aperture is really helpful. So speaking of settings, this is what, so this is it's a loose guideline. So you'll see at the bottom of my pictures, I have put my camera settings, but I mess with them. Like I don't follow these rules all the time, but generally with the shutter speed, I won't shoot under 1/125th of a second because I don't have a tripod. So I want all of my stuff to be in focus and not have any motion blur. My aperture, I do a minimum, usually it's a minimum of between f10 and f20 because again, it's such a small focal plane that you want to be able to get everything in focus. So like the front of the bubble or the front of the water droplet as well as the edge. And then lastly, I feel like a lot of photographers are afraid of doing a high ISO. And because they don't want the grain. But I think that it's better to have a high ISO to support your shutter speed and have a grainy photo than not have, than have like a nice smooth photo because you have a low ISO, but then your shutter speed is going to have motion blur. So you can, if you have grain in your photo, you can always run it through the Lightroom denoise or Topaz AI. It'll smooth it right out. When I first started doing this, I would let Mother Nature create the water droplets. I would either go shooting after it rained, or I would go to the botanical garden after they watered, and that's how I would get the water droplets. But then I was like, wait, what am I can create my own. So this, I'm so sorry. Like the video isn't working in my slideshow today. So this was like, this middle one was a video showing me how I build the water droplets. But I just like, I spray and spray and spray gently, and it'll like slowly over time build up the water droplet. If you do too much, like for instance, if you got a hose and sprayed your stuff down, it would be too hard. The water pressure would be too hard to form the droplets. So it's like the misting part is really important. Um, Again, I bring something waterproof to sit on because like the poppy photos, I was sitting on a curb on the side of the road. So just if you're gonna go shooting, not in your house, like it's good to bring something to sit on. And then, like I said, spray multiple times to build droplets. With the focusing part, it can be tricky. So I used to use automatic, but my camera was like burning through the battery because it was constantly trying to find something to focus on. So initially, so then I eventually just switched to manual focus, and it made it much better. And so not only do I focus manually like this, when I kind of get my frame and I'm as close as I want to be, I also will move my body gently, just tiny little micro movements. And it makes a difference between getting this in focus and this in focus. And so um as I'm doing it, I will shoot, I shoot on like I'll shoot this first and then this and then this. And those are like the micro movements that I am talking about. Um, and then lastly, I hold my breath because when you're breathing, that will even knock it out of focus. So like I take a deep breath, or I'll take like a normal breath, take a picture, let it out, and then keep doing it. And it actually ends up being like a meditation, or at least to me, because I'm so amped up a lot. And so it kind of like, this is like my calm and my peace. So, um, oh, this is the video that's not going to work. So in this video, I was showing how I shoot is I start at the bottom and I work my way up, and then I'll choose different water droplets to focus on. And so that way, like if I take a photo and this water droplet's in focus, like these aren't going to be in focus, or these aren't going to be in focus, but I get like a bunch of shots. So because when you're looking at the back of your screen, you're not able to see all the time if everything is in focus. So I can pull it into Lightroom and I have a bunch of things to choose from. Whereas if I just go and shoot one thing, put it in the Lightroom, it's not in focus, then I would have to go back and shoot again. So it's more efficient this way, although it feels maybe not. So there are some things that produce water droplets better than others. I have found that flowers, leaves, spiky things, for lack of a better word, and sturdy grass are really good, like producers or holders of water droplets. For the flowers, I feel like the Gerber daisies, the ranunculus, like bold colors like red, really hold the, well, I guess the color doesn't make the water droplet better, but like the contrast of the water droplet with the red is really pretty. For leaves, the thick like canna, caladium, cabbage, they hold really big water droplets, so you can do dramatic things with them. Spiky things will do like a lot of repetitive water droplets, as will sturdy grass. And right now, actually, I don't know about other places in the States. In Texas, it's still so hot, but everything is kind of dead and like dead grass. But that would actually be like the dead grass right here would yield really beautiful photos. Okay. So like when we watch movies, the directors can tell us what to watch by using dialogue, by like doing camera angles. But as photographers, we have to drive people's eye using different techniques. My favorite is light, color, and contrast, but also using a single point is a technique, using lines or using repetition will like are great techniques to like highlight your water droplets. So my favorite is the light, color, and contrast. So I think that if you guys are just trying this out for the first time, I do think that doing like this feels like it has the most impact and it like would give build your confidence in macro. So this is a daisy. And so what this is right here is the petal was like curled up. So this is the underside of the petal. And I was so excited when I saw like what after I sprayed it down and I examined it, I was so excited to have this little line right here. And I knew that I had to photograph it. And then what I also loved about it is that because we're working on such a small level, I don't need to be in a pretty location. I can use my flower as the backdrop. And so, like, let me show you where I took this picture. It was on this dusty Yeti cooler in my backyard. So, like, that part didn't matter. I didn't have to clean anything up. I just had to have, like, all the photo was the flower. So, what I do when I first start when I know that I'm going to take a picture. So I went out in my backyard because I knew that the light was like super dramatic. And before I even put my camera to my face, I start spraying with reckless abandon and get it all saturated with the beautiful water droplets. And then I start hunting like for my water droplet that I know, like my favorite one that I'm going to photograph. And so I like this is where why I can't use a tripod because I like move around or I like will turn it because the light interacts with the water droplets, you know, like as you move. And um so once I found this one, what I do is I point. I take before I even put my camera to the flower, like I point with my finger up at the petal that I want to take a picture of. Because once you put your macro lens up to your face, it's really hard to orient yourself to where you are. So I know at least if I have my fingertip in the frame that I'm in the vicinity of where I want to be. So, and then I'll start like fine tuning. So, yes. So then so I took this photo, the dramatic, I can't even talk, I'm sorry, in the dramatic sunset. And in the morning, I went to my front porch and like the sun was more subdued and it was like half sunny, half cloudy. And so I felt like it was like a perfect time to do like the sun drenched, raindrop drenched photo of the same flower. And so I just wanted to show you that you can do even the same subject, but if you put it in different light, it's going to act differently. And then the cool thing about it, I think, is these little like the blurry sun sparkles. But I don't know if you guys knew this, but this is actually your aperture blades. Like that's the shape of your aperture blades. So I always like looking at that. And you can even see it in movies, like when you see sun flares. Anyway, but here's like where I took it. So it's not a fancy background at all, right? It's just, you can just do it on your front porch. But I show these two flowers because, again, with light, I'm going to talk about light this whole entire thing because light is so important to me. I think of light as like another character in it's almost like a subject, right? So in this side, it's a main character to me. On this side, it's a supporting role. So you can decide what story you want to tell with your water droplets. If you want to do dramatic and main character, or just like, even light. So light is good to pay attention to. With this was a video, and I wish that it would work because this top flower is what it looked like just with the available lighting that I had. And this one was using the reflector And so in this video, it just kind of showed like the difference of, just kind of like how I would like alter or, move this to make a reflection. So I'm sorry that that didn't work. Okay. So single point is another technique that I like to use, or like another, yeah, technique that I like to use to highlight the water droplets. And so it's just like, again, on my front porch, but these are so sturdy that they'll hold the big fat water droplets. And then you can tell stories with it here. Um, and I like, for this one, I like to tell a story of just one water droplet. So my shutter speed, I saw this morning or this afternoon when I was reviewing these that my shutter speeds are not correct. So I'm sorry, but the f-stops and the ISO is correct. But I wanted to tell the story of just this water droplet. So that's why I did a really, like I shot wider open with f6.3, but then I closed down to f25. And doing that, it tells a story of a neighborhood of water droplets. So if I wanted to kind of combine these, like I could like cut this out in Photoshop and put it on here. So it's like a portal, just that one little water droplet is like a portal to a different world. All of these examples that I've given so far are things that I've manufactured, but this one right here was manufactured by nature. And so I was driving through my neighborhood early in the morning. The sun is like in my face and it's reflecting off all these sparkly pieces of grass. And so, of course, I had to pull over, had to get my camera and get a garbage bag out so I can lay on it. And you might get asked if you're okay if you're like, if a neighbor sees you laying in the middle of your yard on a garbage bag, but it's okay. It's worth it. But whenever you go past a dewy field of grass, this is what it is. It's like millions of blades of grass crusted with these like beautiful tiny water droplets. And then at the end, these big fat water droplets. So I was super excited about this. And then again, you can see the aperture blades in the sparkles in the background. This is the one that I opened with. This is a video. It was a video just kind of showing how you can use single point and how you can move just a tiny bit. I moved like maybe an inch and I was able to get like, I feel like there's a big difference between the drama of these two photos, but just kind of being curious and moving just a little bit can create a totally different photo. But also what I wanted to show you, I don't know if you guys knew this. So this is like the sun was really harshly coming through the window, but this little sun flare right here, the smaller your f-stop is. So if I went, so this was f11. If I did like f22, it would be like the smaller the f-stop is, the bigger the sun flare or the bigger the sparkle is. So if I used f22, it would have been super flary. But honestly, I didn't see it until I got it into Lightroom. So I wasn't able to experiment with that. But it's just a fun trick. So this isn't photoshopped. Actually, like I really didn't do anything to most of these photos. On my birthday of this year, I had a friend that was very sweet and brought me flowers. And the only thing I could look at all day long was this curly leaf. Like I wasn't like, I should have been admiring the flowers, but I couldn't stop thinking about what a water droplet would look like on the end of it. And so finally, at the end of the day, I put it in my windowsill and I sprayed it and sprayed it and sprayed it, and nothing would stick to the very tip. And so this is where I used a needle. And this needle is pretty big, so it does a pretty big water droplet. And so, but it balanced so beautifully, like on the very tip of it. I was so excited. But then I was like, I had to light it because the sun was setting. I was losing daylight. But I feel like necessity is the mother of invention. And so I started with the goal in mind of photographing that water droplet. I started stacking things like a puzzle to get the light high enough. And then I shoved foil here so I could like envelop that little water droplet with light. And so, but I was so excited that my settings were crazy. So you can see my ISO is 6400. Like with a shutter speed of one or of 800, it was out of control. I shouldn't have done that. But I was so excited I wasn't paying attention to that. But this is a case where it was very grainy and I sent it through the denoiser in Lightroom and it fixed it. So again, I would rather have like a grainy photo than a blurry photo. So line and repetition kind of like all of these kind of go together, but this is going to be a video too, just showing like me spraying this. But I just sat on my front porch and I really liked with the canna leaves, they have this beautiful magenta line on it. And I think like I purposely, like I feel like that magenta line does such a beautiful job of like bisecting that whole photo and then coupled with all of these lines. And I don't know, if you have canna, you got to go take pictures of it because it's so pretty. But dandelions too are probably, I don't, I guess they're all my favorite. They're all my favorite. I can't choose. So with dandelion, I like to go out and I will pick a few of them and I pick them whole and I start photographing them whole and then bit by bit I start peeling little seeds away. Excuse me. For this one, um, like I have water droplets on here, but you'll notice that there's not water all over the table. So I did this time spray over my kitchen sink, but generally I'll put a cookie sheet down and then put my stuff on top of it. Like I said, so these will magnetize to it. And then so I don't have that much cleanup. Because I like photographing, but I don't like cleaning it. Like I don't want to clean up a big mess. So but again, like necessity is the mother of invention. So I just like grabbed random things because I knew I wanted it to be like elevated a little bit. And so I just grabbed a random cup to put it on. And you'll see like the background of all of these photos is my like this space. And so, but just the lighting, because of the lighting, it helps like make it all black in the background. But so with this, you don't have to have, you can do all of this stuff with natural light, but I do like to play with the lighting. And so what I do um with this photo, I had the light like right next to me as I'm shooting. And then I moved it for the second photo. I had it 45 degrees. And then for this one, I had it 90 degrees. And so I just like experiment with moving the light to see if it's going to pop these lines and pop the water droplets. So again, just it's all about being curious. Um, and then as I'm like taking pictures and disassembling, I saw these like two little seeds that were like stuck together, and I was so excited about it. Um, and I knew that because of the lines here, like there were so many lines that I wanted it to be on a smooth surface. But you can see my table it's an old science table. It's super marred. So I needed it to be on I wanted it to be on a smooth surface. So I put it on what I was using as my reflector. And it ended up, I just wanted a smooth surface. I wasn't even thinking about the reflective part of it, but it reflected nicely. And so it also made me think that maybe you guys can also, if you wanted to try putting things on mirrors and like, because this would be cool if it was laid on a mirror too. Um, I did try to use this needle again to create a water droplet, but it was too big. So sometimes I have an insulin, like the diabetic or insulin needle, and that's much smaller. And I think that would have been better for these, um, the dandelions. Um, Again, with like spiky things, I just wanted to show you a few of them, like the spiky things that will hold on to water. And so these are cactus, or it's a cactus. And I just use natural light with this in my office. And then I did those micro movements again, and it creates totally different photos. Like the vibes are different because the just from tiny little movements. In I don't know about you guys that don't live in Texas if you guys have poppies, but here in Georgetown we have like a poppy season in like March, April, and people grow these in like this is in someone's front yard. And so everyone will go out and photograph all the poppies. And every year I'm so excited about the little hairs Like I know that why am I like I'm excited about the flowers, but I love that the little hairs that photograph so beautifully. But I never thought to put to spray them with water drops. So I did this year, and it just not only did it like line up on the hairs, but it lined up in between the hairs, which I thought was cool. But I showed this picture. I know I showed it in the beginning, but I show it again to drive home that like we need light and contrast to shape the water droplets because without it, you can't see it. So right here is a water droplet. It's the same as this one, but but you can't see it because there's nothing to shape it. So like this is it's just so light is so important. And then also this one is even worse. You can't see it at all, but it's the same one as like this. So just moving around stuff is just really important. Editing is not my favorite. I love taking pictures. The editing part, I don't always love. So I don't do a ton of it. But let me show you if I were to do everything, this is what I would do. So Lightroom for culling is painful to me because it's so slow. It just renders, it takes forever, or at least my computer, it takes forever to go from one photo to another to another. So I use narrative select and you can just beep, 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 beep. You can go through them so fast. It just shows like little thumbnails. And so I star all my favorites and send them over to Lightroom. And in Lightroom, I have like a light preset. So I'll do that. I do color correction. I try to get everything right inside of the camera so I don't have to like crop anything. Um, in Lightroom, like I said before, I would do the topaz or I would do the denoiser, or I would go through Topaz AI, which would sharpen or denoise. If I do Photoshop, I do this stacking. Um, like I'll Photoshop again, like the middle of the water droplet to the outside. I'll show you in the next picture. Because sometimes it's hard to get everything in focus. So with this grass, for instance, I couldn't get it all in focus. So I just took, I shot bottom to the top. And so in Photoshop, I took a picture, I took this slice and I combined it with this slice and then combined it with this slice to do a final one of this. Um, so that's what I would do in Photoshop. But I hope that you guys learned something today. I'm done. So like if you can see if you have like the right camera gear and the right settings and you have the correct plants, because if you don't have the right plants, they're not going to beat up and it's going to be disappointing. And if you have like the curious mindset, you like all of those combined are going to create like really beautiful photography for you. So thank you for having me. That's all I have. So these are the places you can find me. Um, I do have a Facebook page, but I'm not super active on it. So I might not see it if you guys write to me. But if you have any questions or anything, feel free to send me a message.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, Carol, we have questions. Let me move
Do
my screen here.
you? Okay.
Yes. There's a couple of, really on point questions, and then we've got a random one, which, I don't think I'm the only one that's curious. All right.
Okay.
First of all, Kathy wants to know, do you use the sun usually backlit?
It depends on like I with the like with water droplets, I don't as much. Sometimes I do, but I like to like do it in all different ways because in portraits I can't use the sun as like I can only use the sun specific ways. So I like to experiment and do it different ways with water droplets.
Just
Oh, I
face me.
stopped share.
There you
Can
go.
you see
Look at
me?
that.
Okay.
You're like a pro. Um,
Mm.
you guys were here before we started.
It was a
We were not,
mess.
it was a hot mess. Okay, so Mika's question is, well, first of all, statement, beautiful photos. She wants to
Thank
know,
you.
do you ever mix anything in with the water to make the drops last longer, like glycerin?
I'm actually glad you said that because I did have that in my notes and I forgot to say it. I did use glycerin before, but it's so sticky. So I don't like to make the plant sticky and I don't like to clean up the stickiness. So I just use the water droplets, but you can use glycerin for sure
Okay.
if you want to clean
Um,
up stuff.
It's sticky.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
so sticky.
Ugh, I know it does its job, but it's way too sticky.
It does.
I think I skimmed over this, but let me ask you. Kathy's question is on light again. Do you use mostly natural light? Would you say the or
Um, Initially I did, and I'm starting to experiment with light more. Like these lights, I'm experimenting more with it. Because it's fun. I don't know, but I think right now I would say I'm 50-50. Whereas
okay,
before I didn't do it at all.
that's fair. On the last photo, photo you showed, Elaine wants to know: Are you focus stacking without a tripod?
Yes, I use my elbows. So I mean, there's so many different ways to do things, but I know like I don't know, like because I'm on the ground and my tripod I have is what's it called? Why am I blanking on it? It starts with an M. It's a nice, it could be used as a weapon. It's really sturdy, but the shortest that it could go is like 3 feet. And so I had like, and I'm like, oh, my elbows will work fine. I don't need to get a tripod. But yes, I probably should get a tripod.
Was
Manfrotto,
that
thank you.
okay?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
All right.
thank you.
I wish I had saved that question for last, but okay. Peter's question is, and I think Peter's related to you. I think this is the
Yes, yes.
okay. The lights you just showed, are they LED? Does the type of bulb matter?
I will turn these on. They are LED. I don't know if you'll be able to see, and it's like going to be weird on the screen, but like with it, what I like about it is I can make it, I can change the color temperature, I can change the brightness of it, and then I can change the color of it.
Can you tell us what brand
So,
that
it's called Metal, Mettle, Light, Lite. I think I got them on like the Prime Day sale. I think they're $40 a piece, but they're rechargeable and I do use them a lot. So they're worth it to me. But you
is?
could also use a flashlight. You could use your cell phone flashlight if you don't want to spend money.
Okay. Kathy's got lots of questions here tonight.
I love
This
it.
is she sent me a note and said, I'm really excited about this presentation. So I think
Oh, thank you.
you're really gonna encourage her to try this. Her
Oh,
question is, are
good.
you shooting manual or auto or experimenting with both?
I always shoot manual because it's easier. I have more control over everything if I shoot manual. And then and my focusing is also manual.
Okay. Um,
But that
as I
doesn't mean, I'm sorry, I don't, because I've been doing it for a long time. So, but if it's easier to start off in auto, totally do it. But if you feel like you're limited and you feel like you're not getting the pictures that you want, it's worth putting it in manual and kind of figuring the manual part out, which you can totally ask me questions about any of it because yeah, definitely message me if you have questions. I can help
okay.
you.
All right. Glenda wants to know, do you have problems convincing the pharmacist you're not going to kill someone with syringes and needles?
Okay, so
A valid
I
question.
legit I don't even know where I got these needles from. My mom has actually I do. I have my dog has Addison and she requires a shot. And we can't even give her the shots anymore because she's like it hurts her, so we take her to the vet. So we have leftover syringes. So and then my mom had something for her cats. So I haven't had to get them from the pharmacy. Although I would have no qualms doing it.
So convenient. All right. That leads me to
That's
the
so
very
funny.
last that leads me to the very last question because I was going to ask you before we started and things started rolling. So it's also a question that's was in the chat. Um, what is the significance of the hammer that's hanging behind
Oh my
you?
gosh. So first, let me tell you, our air conditioning is not working and it's 90 degrees in our house, literally. And so we were going to be, I was going to be doing it in my office initially at like this speech, which would have been nice, but I had to do it in my daughter's room. So I'm like in a cooler part of the house. I'm not sure even what the hammer is. It's my daughter's. Oh, actually, it's I don't know. I feel like I can say this. It's like I mean, it's like a gentle thing, but it's like a mental health thing. So it says you are worthy of taking up space. In fact, you're worthy of taking up the whole damn room. And so she did a project about self-worth with this. And I think she broke a mirror with it.
That is significant.
Hmm.
All right. Let me ask you one more time, just so that you can say it out loud. What's the best
Okay.
way for people to contact you?
So you can contact
Because
me on,
there are going to be questions.
okay, I would say Instagram is going to be the best way to do just like private message me. So it's 50 spelled out, Fifty, or I'll put it in the chat. Is that easier?
I actually put it
Or
in
you'll
the
do it.
chat.
Okay,
I've
thank
already done
you.
the very beginning. But
Oh,
for
good.
those, yeah, but for those that don't have the benefit of the chat, tell us your Instagram handle one more time.
Okay, it's 50 Fifty underscore clicks, CLICKS underscore photo, PHOTO.
All right, so
And
that
yeah,
go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
no, just thank you so much for having me. I love talking about photography. So I appreciate it.
Well, I so appreciate you, saying yes, you do this because, a lot of people play with do macro photography. There's a lot of people in this room that love macro photography, and I know by just flipping through people's Instagrams, there's droplets here and there's flowers there, and people are playing with different things, but your spin on it and the way you approach it and the way that your technique is different. And sometimes just that one little thing that somebody says will like help people like figure out, oh, that's what I need to try. So
Yes,
what
yes.
I
Oh,
love
good.
these
Yes.
presentations. All right,
Yes. Oh,
Carol,
if you guys can they will you guys tag me if you guys take pictures, like tag me, or if you have questions, definitely like write to me and I'll help you.
that's perfect. Yes.
Okay.
All right, Carol, thank you very, very, very much.
You're
I
welcome.
so appreciate it. And all right, next week, Tony Baldessaro will be here to share his presentation, Wild Bird Photography, Tips to
Mhm.
Ensure Sharp Focus and Impactful Images. Until next time, go out and create something beautiful. And I hope that we see you again soon.